Hello, and welcome to the H in HR podcast, where people discuss the most important aspect of human resources, the human aspect. Now, here is your host, Ricky Baez.
And welcome to the H in HR podcast, the show where we break down everyday HR topics in a real, down-to-earth way that anyone can relate to. Whether you're an intern, a manager, or sitting in the CEO's chair, this show is for you. I'm Ricky Baez. I am your host, and folks, 2025 is almost done. It's October. We got 2 more months, and this year is over. So today's show is specifically for seniors in college, or if you're in grad school and you're about to graduate this coming May in 2026, this show is for you. Because if you're a senior in college or you're about to graduate next May and are thinking about starting your career search in January, I'm here to tell you, if you wait that long, it's too late. You need to start thinking about doing that right now to get ahead of the game. And that's why today we're going to talk about starting networking for that career you've been planning for today, right now. Don't wait till January. Start doing it right now. To help me with this topic, I've invited a good friend of mine, Janine Crockett, to the show. Now, Janine is not only an HR professional, she's also the founder of the Pearl Collaborative. That's where she helps individuals and organizations reach their full potential. And together, she and I are going to be unpacking what it really takes for you to land that first job, transition into office life, and grow your career without losing your sanity. It happens. So, folks, without further ado, here's Janine Crockett. Check it out. Janine Crockett, how the hell are you?
I'm doing great, Ricky. Thanks for asking. How are you?
I'm doing great. Actually, I'm a little bit taken aback because, we were just having a conversation, and just out of nowhere, I just happened to ask you, have you ever seen Napoleon Dynamite? You said no. Now, I have to address this. You're my generation, okay? I'm a little bit older than you, not by a lot. How in the world do you go through the 2000s and not see Napoleon Dynamite? Help me understand that rationale.
You know, Ricky, I'm just a very busy mom and worker and wife, and it hasn't struck my fancy.
That's such a bullcrap answer, but okay, fine. It's okay. That is such, so I'll say this. And everybody out there listening who's seen this movie know what I'm about to say. The first time I saw it, I thought it was the dumbest movie ever made. I'm like, I am wasting my time here. And then somebody convinced me to watch it again. It was hilarious the second time. It's so stupid, it's so dumb, and it's so low budget that it hits all the right comedic chords. You have to watch Napoleon Dynamite, okay?
But it sounds like I have to watch it twice.
I mean, you do. It is considered a cult classic. I mean, at least in my opinion, it is considered a cult classic. But oh my God, I've never met anybody from my era that's never seen that movie. So I find that really interesting. So anyway, we're talking today. Yeah, because if not, this podcast will be 5 hours talking about how you should have seen Napoleon Dynamite, which is ridiculous. But anyway, what we're going to talk about today, look, Janine, you and I both know, look, you have a son in college, right?
Yes.
I have a son that has yet to go to college. He's got a few more years before he gets to go. But if the current climate of finding a job or getting a job and then dealing with the different office politics today, it is so difficult. And I'm watching these young folks deal with that. I can't even imagine how it's going to be by the time my son goes to college and graduate, let alone when your son graduates. When is your son graduating?
May next year.
Already?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So May of next year, your son is going to be graduating from college. Got it. Roger that. So what advice are you giving him to make sure that he gets that job? I mean, what do you do? Because these days, you know, it's all of my students that I teach and I coach, they always ask me these questions like, Ricky, I am applying left and right. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Indeed, I'm on ZipRecruiter. Somebody even said they went on Monster. And I'm like, you're 25. How do you know what Monster is? But okay, fine, fine. But all they get is rejection, rejection, rejection. I know what I'm telling them what to do with the rejection, but I'm curious. And everybody, all 18 listeners minus 8 are listening right now. And they want to know from you, what advice do you give people out there right now that are dealing with rejection after rejection in this climate?
Well, first of all, it is super hard, and it's hard sometimes for people not to take the constant rejection personally. But I think the first thing that they have to do is recognize that it's not personal, that the job market is really tough right now. And a lot of people, not just new to the market, new graduates, high school or college, professionals, mid-level, everyone is having a hard time right now. And you really do need to treat the job search as a job itself. So the first advice I would give is to build out that plan and schedule your day every day around your job search, whether that's an hour a day or a few hours a day, whatever your life allows you to do. Yeah. That's really important because you need to have consistency. And with the market how it is right now, there can be multiple applications really quickly after a job has gone live. So when you are searching every day, even if it's only for 20 minutes, you have a better chance of finding those jobs before 100 other people do. That's the first advice I would give. But even before you are in that job search, you really need to take a look at your resume. I see a lot of people think that they have a great resume, and then I look at the resume and it's not so great. You have to set yourself apart. The day of the task-oriented resume is long gone. And if you're applying to a job, you have to have something on your resume that pulls you apart, either from an ATS or from the recruiter themselves, that gets you that phone call. And that can be the hardest thing to get. But once you get that phone call, you can be set up for success.
For the people out there that are not in HR and not in recruiting, what does ATS mean?
Applicant tracking system. Thanks, Ricky. I know I should stay away from acronyms. Sometimes it's hard. But the other piece of this too is I hear people say all the time, well, the job said 1+ years. I'm just getting out of college. I'm not going to apply. Apply. If the job is of interest to you, if you believe that you meet at least the minimum qualifications, apply. Let them tell you no. Don't tell yourself no. Now, if the job says, 10+ years experience, then as a new college grad, probably should leave that one alone. But I see too often where people are stuck on that 1+ or 1 to 3, and they think, well, I don't have 3. I'm not going to apply. Let them tell you no. Don't tell yourself no. I can't stress that enough.
I love that. Don't tell yourself no. Let them tell you no. I like that. Now, here's what I tell my students, because I agree with you. You have to make sure your resume stands out. But Janine, these days with AI and the way these different applicant tracking systems work, it's that resume being good. It's only good once it lands in the hands of the recruiter. I guess to me, it's what I tell my students is you have to treat a job search like shopping for food. You should never shop for food when you're hungry, because when you shop for food when you're hungry, like I do, you come home with a lot of crappy stuff. But if you shop for food when you're not hungry, you're more strategic about what you're looking for. You're more strategic about what you need, and you come home with the things you're going to need. Translating that to the job search process, if you're always on LinkedIn, posting content, if you're always on LinkedIn, engaging with recruiters, because a lot of recruiters, if they know how to do their job well, they're going to be on LinkedIn. So the best thing to do is to build relationships with them, connect with them, take them out for coffee, expecting nothing in return. If you start building those relationships right now, before you need a job, when it comes time when you do need a job, the only thing you have to do is say, I'm looking, and they already know who you are. And next thing you know, your resume that was in a pile of 500 goes from the middle to the top. So I would network before you need to network. What do you think about that?
I think that's great advice, but I also think there's a lot of, especially college age students, who don't understand the importance of network. And they don't necessarily go to the events, or they don't necessarily follow up with the people they've met at the career fairs. I've also heard where a lot of times the organization isn't hiring for what they're exactly looking for, so they don't engage in the conversation anymore. That's a mistake. You have FaceTime at a college career fair with a person who is in a position to be a part of your network, and move that resume up top or remember your name. Keep those conversations going, follow up with that person later, remind them who you are, let them put the face to the name and the follow up. You don't know what they might have in 5 months. You don't know what they might have in 6 months. Keep those connections. And I think that's where a lot of college students don't recognize what they need to do. And that is vital. And hopefully, watching this podcast, you to your students, myself, when I go to some of the Central Florida schools, I reiterate that to them. Don't miss an opportunity because they didn't have what you needed right then.
That's how to do it. Yep. And so now let's shift from, let's shift. That sounded wrong, right? Let's shift from looking for a job. Let's say you got the job now. You got it. Now you're starting. We live in a corporate world these days, or in a world where things change really fast. And you and I saw it firsthand when COVID first hit. Now, working from home is not anything new. That's been around for decades. But it really kicked it into high gear when COVID hit. And next thing you know, people who were not used to working from home are now working from home. Here's where I'm firing from. Now you have college students that are coming into the workforce, into organizations that they're currently working remotely. And this is their first experience into the corporate world here in America. Now, a lot of organizations are shifting gears, and they're bringing people back into the office. And I've spoken to a lot of new pros who've been in the game for about 2 to 3 years that are like, I've never worked in an office before. How do you help a recently grad student, and I'm talking about in the past 24 months, who are now working remotely, and now they have to shift their thought process to work in an office? What do you say to them?
So there's a few things that come to mind with that. And the first thing that popped into my head is when you work remote, you can sometimes tend to only be dressed from the waist up, what people see on camera. And maybe you have leggings or your pajama pants on.
I got jeans on.
but I do hear a lot of people, and sometimes people joke about it. Oh, I have my pajama pants on. Sometimes they really don't. But I think one of the first important things that anyone can do that's going into an office after not being there is dress the part. Because when you walk into the office, the leggings are potentially, depending where you work, no longer acceptable. The t-shirt, depending on where you work, no longer acceptable. And what I have seen happen is people don't know what the dress code is or how people are dressing in the office because they don't go to the office. So call someone that you work with that has been in the office, or ask your manager, how are people dressing in the office? And I think the most important thing with that also then becomes, look at how the senior level people, your manager, your supervisor are dressing, and mirror them. Mirror what they are wearing. Get yourself a few new outfits if you need to. That's step one. But then step two really would be, and maybe this is in tandem, while you might not have gone into the office, you're surely working with people on a day-to-day basis. You're having cross communications with your department, in other departments. Talk to those people. Are they already in an office? Make a plan to meet with them your first day. Some companies handle this better than others. So if your company is not one that handles this transition well, or doesn't really seem to have a plan, build your own plan. Who do you want to be your contact that first day that you go in? Is it your manager? Is it a coworker? Is it someone that you've become friendly with over time? Ask them for the office tour. Ask them what they need to know to be there. And then really be a sponge when you're there. Pay attention to what is going on. What's the atmosphere? How are people behaving? Are people mostly in by 8 a.m.?
That's right.
Are people, mostly leaving for lunch? and pick that up and follow it. Ask questions. I hear a lot of feedback from some leaders that are frustrated. Well, they didn't dress properly. They didn't do this properly. But then when I dive deeper into that, the company is not telling them what the expectation is. It's expecting them to know something they've never been exposed to. So it's really important to make your own plan if there isn't one for you. The last piece that comes to mind is when you are in an office day in and day out versus being virtual, you can tend to hear the rumor mill a little bit more. You can engage in conversation. People can step in and see you. I would really caution people to keep that professionalism, stay out of that rumor mill, don't get involved in the drama, don't pass the drama, keep your nose clean, if you will. Because that can truly be the downfall of a best performing employee.
You got that right. You got that right. You know, and and that was spot on, right? One more thing that I do tell my employees is, my students is, hey, be honest with me. Do you work your full 8 hours in a day? Oh, of course. No, you don't. No, you don't. After your 8:30 meeting, maybe you go downstairs and get some coffee. In your first break, maybe you take a power nap. For lunch, you take a power nap. Maybe in the afternoon, you go for a little walk via dog. That changes when you go into an office. So you have, especially for the folks that their first corporate America job experience is working from home, they've never really been exposed to what pre-COVID work experience is. And you are going to have to shift that mindset to, okay, now there's people watching. Sometimes they're not, sometimes they are, but you have to assume everybody's watching you now. So you do have to change how you work. And again, exactly how Janine said, make sure you find that one person who's been there and done that. People Janine and I's age, right? that we have done that, and then tack onto it. Now, we talked about networking. We talked about mentoring, because that's what you said, find that one person. Let's fast forward, Janine. Let's say your son started work 6-7 years ago. He's doing the same job in corporate America. He comes home and says, Mom, besides you being an amazing mom, you're also an amazing HR pro. I need some help here. I'm stuck. I feel stuck here. I feel like I'm not going anywhere. No matter how hard I work, I don't get a promotion. I don't get more money. And have you seen how much a gallon of milk costs? What can I do to get ahead and get out of this rut? What would you tell him?
So that's an interesting conversation, Ricky, because I just was thinking about the day that comes where my son's not on my payroll anymore, and made me a little happy.
I gotcha. All right.
So here's another situation where some companies do this well and some don't. When you deep dive into a conversation like that, sometimes the employee has never had that conversation with their manager. Have they spoken to their manager or their leader about what their goals are, where they want to go? And maybe the manager doesn't know what to do with that, so nothing has occurred. And then I would really encourage people, my son, of course, to think about, what do they want their next step to be? And is that possible in their current organization? Are they happy in the current organization? And is this somewhere where they want to stay? Because then if you haven't had that conversation with your manager, it's time to address that in a professional way. I believe that I've had these accomplishments, I've offered these skill sets, I'm really looking to grow and develop. Here's some things I would like to do, or here's some things I would like to be exposed to. That part is so important, because if you just walk into your manager's office and you're like, I've done this, I'm a rock star, what do you got for me? They're going to be like a deer in the headlights. What do you want? Think about that, communicate that, and see what your manager or your HR team or your organization can help you achieve. And if it's not going to be possible there, or it's not going to be possible in the time frame in which you want it, it might be time to start that job search process again and see where you can find it. A lot of organizations are flat right now. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what it'll look like in 6 or 7 years. But there are a lot of organizations right now that don't have a lot of promotional opportunity that's up. But let's not forget about the opportunity to develop skills in a lateral way.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say that sometimes not in the mindset of people. People want the bigger title, the bigger job, but they don't necessarily always know or think about how they can develop where they are now if they have those conversations with their leaders, and what could be a great project for them to work on or a great skill set build. And if an organization is smart, they're going to invest in their employees, and they're going to invest in their employees to keep them, not to let them go someplace else. And sometimes those conversations can turn a flat department into a layered department because they are starting to build that skill set. Now, another thing to consider, and sometimes it is a hard look in the mirror, honest conversation with yourself, is, are you truly ready for what you think you're ready for? And be prepared for that feedback, hopefully in a constructive way, from your leader, from your manager. Take a day or two to process that if you have to, and then work with that manager to determine how you can improve those skills, how you can get those skills and make those changes so that you can have that promotional opportunity, and so that you are self-aware. Self-awareness gets people very far. Lack of self-awareness will keep you stagnant.
And thank you for saying that piece, as far as making sure that you are having the conversation with your employer. And if your employer says, you know what, let me help you with this, let me help you find your way, because at the end of the day, it should look like this. If your career is the car, right, you are in the driver's seat and your boss is the GPS. You have to punch in where you want to go, and your boss is going to help you get there. Now, if your boss says, get out of my office, just do your job and go home, you need to start that job search ASAP, right? But what I don't want you to do, I don't want you to let that negative conversation stop you from making any kind of forward progression in looking for that job. You're going to get more no's than a yes, and those no's are going to suck. You know this, I know this, because you've got a bunch of no's, I've gotten a bunch of no's. And it's especially when you really want that job, or you really want that promotion, and it's just a punch in the gut, and you just go home and you drink your favorite drink, and you're like, maybe I should just, I don't know, be a gigolo or something. That didn't work for me, obviously, right? but I mean, you start to rethink your career path. But please do not let that happen. Now, Janine owns her own company, right? And her company is called the Pearl Collaborative. You want to tell people a little bit about that?
Sure. So the Pearl Collaborative is really about helping people reach their full potential. And I think what sets us apart is the fact that we work with both the individual and the company and the organization. So that, I think, is a great mix, because it allows us to help companies reach their strategic goals and reach their full potential, allows their employees to reach their full potential. But then on the individual side, let's face it, sometimes an individual needs something they can't get from their own HR department, or maybe they don't have an HR department. Maybe it's a confidential situation they don't think has been handled properly, and they need someone to talk to. And that is where we come in. If there's an employee relations issue that you're unsure of, there's something going on at work that you're not sure how to deal with, we can help with that. We can set you up to have those conversations and make your life better. At the same time, if you need a resume, if you need some interview coaching, if you're starting a new job and you need to figure out what your first 90 days should look like, we can help with that. I'm very cognizant of the fact that not all employees walk into the wonderful HR departments that you and I have been a part of.
Yes.
And sometimes you have to build your own plan and your own process. And that's what I love to do. I love helping people. I love seeing them succeed and reach goals that maybe they never thought were possible. And that's what drives the Pearl Collaborative.
And look, and people out there listening and wondering, well, Ricky, she's an HR consultant, so are you. Isn't she your competition? And I don't see it that way, right? We've helped each other out. We're great friends, and we there's enough food out there for everybody. So we help each other out. And you got me this nifty card, which is awesome. I'm showing it on the video right now. It's like a little square card. Look, make these bigger. They'll make amazing coasters. I mean, they're really, I mean, just think about it. Just go to a bar and put these at every table, right? And they make amazing coasters. So look, folks, if you're looking to make sure your resume is spot on, give Janine a call. If you are a business that needs some help with HR issues, give Janine a call or give me a call. We help each other out. It doesn't really matter. We're here for the same reason. So Janine, it is about that time. We do have to hop off. How can people find you and the Pearl Collaborative?
So they can give me a call at 407-494-5260, or they can email me at Janine@thepearlcollaborative.com or visit my website. I'm also on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Janine. I really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, I know this is the first show in a long time. There is more coming. I'm making a little bit of changes to the podcast operating at the Bias School Learning. So stay tuned for more information. Folks, have a good one. Good night. All right, folks, that is our show for today. If you want to get a hold of Janine directly, you can contact her at thepearlcollaborative.com or you can find her on LinkedIn. That said, that is our show for today, folks. See you next time. Bye.